Alrighty. Welcome everybody to Visible Music College. My name is Mitch Pullen and I'm the drums division head here. We're just going to be doing a short introduction. So thank you to all who are viewing from the live stream and for all who came in person to this event. This is the Timmy Jones Drum Clinic. And before we start, I just want to give a shout out to all of our drum division drummers who participated in Drumathon last November. If you were a participant, please go ahead and stand up. So where were my drummers at? Come on, don't be shy. You guys played drums for 24 hours. So thank you so much to all those who supported us during our 24 hours of drumming. Of course, our sponsors from that event, which were Memphis Drum Shop and One and Only Barbecue. It wouldn't have been possible without you guys or anyone who donated all throughout the 24 hours. That was so that we can provide more educational opportunities. Hence, we have tonight with us Chris Tomlin's current drummer, who's also played for the likes of King and Country, and so many others. So I'm going to get out of the way and let him take the rest of the evening, and we will just be along for the ride. So without further ado, may I introduce today's guest artist, Timmy Jones. Timmy?
Hello. Thanks for coming. Y'all didn't have to do this tonight, but you decided to, and I appreciate that. And this is my hometown, and it's very special for me to be here and do this. This is my first one I've ever done, so please be nice to me and applaud as much as you can, because it's really, what I do is very amazing. I'm just kidding. All right, I'm going to start with a song, and then we're just going to see what happens after that. Okay.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yahweh, holy is your name.
Heart stop. Woo. That's fun. Yeah, so that's a... Mics are weird. I'm not used to talking on a mic. Yeah, so that song's called Yahweh, if you didn't know, if you couldn't tell. That's a newer song that Chris does. And it's a fun one because, well, it's you could tell. It's fun for me. I was talking to the drum department today about this song. I didn't play it. But the way that I approach these things, because typically, like, I'm not recording these parts. This is something that the producer comes up with, or they hire a session guy or something like that. Something I've been trying to break into, my whole life. But and so what happens is when you hear certain songs, you kind of play them the way that they're recorded. You play them the way that you're supposed to, if that's what the artist wants. And then a lot of times with Chris, he leaves us up to our own liberties. And I heard this song and I was like, that's a fun song, but I wanted to make it more interesting for me, I guess. Because the song itself, if you've ever heard it, is mainly toms and the backbeat snare thing, and I was like, that's cool, but it's kind of, I'm gonna get bored. So and I don't always do this because I don't want to overwork myself, but I was like, all right, this is a great opportunity for me to do something weird and put a tom over here and play the tom part, because that's all it is. And I was like, well, it would be cool if I, played the hi-hats in between too, because that's, just to move the train along, I guess. Just to give it more movement and more like forward motion. Because I tend to default, I lay back sometimes too much. So I wanted to like push myself by making it more energetic, I guess. And it's a hi-hats in general, just kind of do that sonically. So I set up the tom over here, and let me just talk about it real quick, and then I'll So I'd put the first tom over here because it's the first, one. And I'm doing a natural sticking thing. And I talked about natural sticking earlier today. It's basically how I've lived my life ever since I started doing this. And it just makes playing drums easier for me. It's natural. It's a natural sticking. So... And that way, it's I'm naturally doing that. I don't have to change sticking patterns or anything like that. And so it allows me to move around the kit. It makes it look like I'm doing something very odd, but it's very natural. It's like if you're taking your hands away, like if you're doing something like this. So it's super easy. Not easy, but it's just more of a, kind of allows you to, if you just place your hands in different places, it sounds like you're doing something more interesting. But yeah, so that's kind of that song in a nutshell. It's also one of those things where during the pre-chorus, I guess you would call it, where I'm doing this thing. The actual sounds that are in there are it's a track. And I wanted to I do that a lot with Chris because I'm not a. I do that a lot with Chris because I'm not a technological person, as you can tell by the way that I operate this iPad over here. I don't always have a SPDS, so what we do is we put the drum track or the loop or whatever you want to call it in the track, and I play along to it. I try to emulate it to the best of my ability with different sounds, like this snare drum or whatever, just to lively it up a little bit more, because Chris is the kind of person that wants to feel everything on stage almost at all times. So there's times where anytime we have a loop, there's another example that I'll do later, but anytime we have a loop going, I'm playing something, even if it's not exactly the same thing. I'm playing a shaker or whatever. Just because I'm not, thankfully they've accepted me for who I am. I'm not good at that stuff. So I get to play the real acoustic drums to emulate some of those sounds. So that's kind of, been my approach, for the majority of my life. And thankfully, God has placed me in these different bands and in the hands of different artists that are totally fine with that. So, and I have people that are very gifted at working the devices throughout the night, like tracks and things like that. But so that all that said, it's important to know who you are and your capabilities. But that's not to say that if you want to get better at something that you're not good at or you're not natural at, then go for it. I just never had to do that, so I never did do that, if you know what I mean. So yeah, let's see. Another thing about that song, the way that I tackle these parts whenever I'm learning them is I used to, and my best friend is here, and he will know exactly what I'm talking about. I used to just beat the hell out of the drums as hard as I could. Sorry for that. And I thought that that's what you were supposed to do, which sometimes I still do that because I'm less just trying to push something out or trying to destroy these things that are in front of me. And so with that if I'm going as hard and as I can, there's a way to do it, but it's not going to sound good. And not to say that playing hard and fast isn't fun, but it's for something like this, you still want to stay out of the way. You can make something interesting, but you need to stay out of the way and let the song do what it's supposed to do. Let the artist do what they're trying to do, like get what they're getting across. But still, you can make things interesting and have fun doing it. You can even look like you're playing really hard, and you're not. And then you save, a lot of energy, which I, again, didn't learn that till a few years ago. And so it's never too late to learn, guys. But yeah, do y'all have any questions about that song at all? If not, that's great. That means you retained everything. Okay. In that case, I'm going to play another song, if that's all right with you. So this next song is it's a song called Always, and there's another loop part that I'm playing. I forgot the right mallets. Well, I can do these. And so that I am doing in one section. That's a lot of fun before it goes into the full-on kit situation. So I'll do that for you guys. Let's see. 1, 2, 1, 2, 4.
always. Jesus the same yesterday, today, and forever.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I believe you gave sight to the blind. I believe that the dead came to life. I believe there were wonders and signs. You're still the same. I believe every word that you said. I believe there are scars in your head. That your goodness is good without it. You'll never change. I will tell of your wonders, sing of your grace. The God of creation knows me by name. The Lord is faithful, yesterday, now, and always. Always. Your mercy is mine, age after age. In all generations, bow down and praise. The Lord is faithful, yesterday, now, and always. Always. I believe you come in the cloud. I believe you here even now. In your presence, I know there is power, power to save. Oh, I will tell of your wonders, sing of your grace. God of creation knows me by name. The Lord is faithful, yesterday, now, and always. Always. Your mercy is mine, age after age. In all generations, bow down and praise. The Lord is faithful, yesterday, now, and always. You are, you always will be God. You are, you always will be God. Yes, you always will be God. We'll tell of your wonders, sing of your grace. The God of creation knows me by name. The Lord is faithful, yes. Your mercy is mine, age after age. All generations bow down and praise. The Lord is faithful, yesterday, now, and always. You are, you always will be God. You are, you always will be God. Yes, you always will be God. Your mercy is mine, age after age. And all generations will bow down and praise. The Lord is faithful, yesterday, now, and always.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's I was talking earlier today about rudiments, like things that you use that you don't realize you're using when you're playing drum kit or whatever. And there was a lot of kids. I'm sorry. There was a lot of young adults earlier today that were also from a drumline background, which is what I was. And so there's a few things you can use to make, to play, on the drum kit that are a lot of fun and not too distracting. But most of it, you can't really do a whole lot of that stuff. But in that song, I was doing a lot of flam accents, and I didn't even realize it until I was, emulating that the part I was doing with the brushes, and it just kind of like adds a lot of layers, and you're not, that you don't really pay attention to, it's because it's something that was drilled in, like literally drilled into you, but it's something you can add to a song, a very simple song, but make it your own. Instead of just sitting there and like letting the loop play, like it's just fun to play, So that's why I do that a lot. Probably most of these songs, I guess. But yeah, so that's these are newer songs that the first two I just played. But any questions? Yes, you back there.
Can you walk me through the? Oh, wow. Okay. Could you walk me through the grip that you used in your left hand for the beginning of the song with the brushes?
Oh yeah, with the traditional grip.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah, of course. So the reason I do that is because that's what I had to do in drumline. And some of these things I can play, the reason why I do it is because it's easier to play traditional grip, because that's how I had to play snare. And I had a lot of years of that. I ended up getting some tinnitus. That too. Tendinitis and tinnitus is what I took away from drumline. So thank you. But yeah, so that's the reason why I do that. I'll show you. What did I do with the other brush? This is how I lose everything. It's like the nether regions. I'll just use sticks. Yeah, so I'll kind of show you what I'm doing. It's super easy. Not easy. It's just super fun. Everything's fun, guys. I'm going to say that word 100 times. So as it comes in, I just literally start on the snares. And the reason for the two snares is for different timbres and different sounds, so there's more color. Because I could do that on this snare all night, but there's it's nice to have two separate things to listen to. So anyway, so that's what this is. So that's basically what I'm doing with sticks. It's a little bit harsher, but I'm doing a lot of flam accents, drummers in the crowd. You know what those are. So I'm just doing a pattern that I didn't think about or come up with. It was just, that's what I wanted, what my hands wanted to do. And so that's what I stuck with. And then all I did when it ramped up into the first chorus is I grabbed a stick and I did what was on my left ear, and then I moved my right hand to the right cymbal. And again, so the grip, the traditional, is just easier for me. If I was doing it this way, I could do it. It just doesn't feel, I don't know, it feels good. I don't have enough finesse in my left hand to do it mash grip. So that's the reason for that. Yeah. Anyone else?
All right, this is my last one.
No, keep going, bro. It'll be me and you all night.
Right, that's all that matters, right? That's all that matters.
Yeah.
But I think that was the chorus. While you were big, you were playing a pattern with your left foot.
Yeah.
Is that something that you thought about playing, or is it something that just comes naturally as you're playing?
Yeah, both. It's something, I don't know why, but it's something that's like a natural. I like naturally move my head back and forth, and so because of that, my left side of my body's doing this. And so that's how this comes out. That wasn't it. kind of like why we play all the ghost notes on our left hand. Sometimes you should do it, and sometimes it's okay to do it, and then sometimes you shouldn't do it, right? It's just a natural thing, going back to the natural sticking thing. Like, you know, when you're, you know. Same thing with my left foot. So yeah, it's just a thing that I do. It's not because I'm trying to make it more, complicated, I guess. I don't know. It's just fun. It's fun. All right. Well,
I've got a question.
you got a question. Where are you?
Hey. On the right. Yeah.
How you doing, buddy?
Not too bad.
I hide behind these big. This is why I have big cymbals, so I can hide behind them.
I was just wondering what your thought process is when you're making like fills or filling in general, because like obviously in CCM there's not a whole lot of fills, and
Yeah.
if there are, they're fairly simple. So do you like try to stick to the album as much as possible, or what's your own process for making your own spice on the fills?
That's a good question. With CCM or worship music, or really any music, honestly, if you're having to learn songs for an artist, it's very important to, a lot of them really want it to sound like the album. And so it's good, and my approach, I'm not saying it's the right approach, but my approach is to always try to play it like the recording that I receive in my inbox to learn. And so I'll learn it that way, and I'll play it that way. And then as we play these songs 150 times, I start to add, my own personality or things that just come out naturally in the moment, because, and Chris is the type of person that he just wants you to be yourself. Like I said that earlier today, and that's the reason why he has you there. He trusts you to like get the job done and to play it right. You can't just, do whatever you want to. But you can be yourself within the song, and you can still give to the song pieces of yourself while, playing what's supposed to be there. But yeah, so it depends on the song. Sometimes I don't do anything that I want to do. But then there's other times, like with a song like that, there's not a whole lot of, fills between things. And even that, I don't know what you call that part where I'm over here and doing the tom thing. Like, that's in the song. The tom thing's in the song. But then, occasionally you just add another couple hits here and there just to kind of make it more interesting and make the keyboard player smile on occasions. Yeah, so that's kind of how I approach that. Yeah. Anybody else about that one? I'm gonna keep rolling through here. Yeah. What? Yes, sir.
How you doing, Timmy? Nice.
I'm great, man. How are you today?
I'm good, man. You're having a great session. This is a great clinic here.
Thank you very much.
What gear? Have you broken down your gear and what you're
No.
using?
Hey, that's a great. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this, the most important pieces of this kit are these things here, and these are Istanbul Agops, the original, and they are, pretty sure they're the only ones still being handmade in Turkey, like exclusively. And then they ship them to LA, and then they ship them to all of us. But that man right there that just asked me that question, he's been playing these for a while. This is Terrence Clark, everyone. He's my best friend. I just got to meet his son for the first time, and I almost forgot I had to do this tonight. But yeah, so he started playing these, and I was like, whoa, what are those? And I just fell in love because they're I mean, every room is different, obviously, but to me, cymbals are so annoying. And I think they're very annoying to everybody else, especially if you're not a drummer. And then most people are not drummers. So unless you're behind a PA and you can play the brightest things in the world, and that's good. But typically, and most of the gigs that we're doing, we're playing in churches, and they always get scared when they see the drums without any baffles, or see, there's no shield or whatever, because everybody has that, and that's what you're supposed to do because that's what everybody does. But these, to me, I know we got a glass room here, but glass and concrete. But they get out of the way. They're very musical, and they're not abrasive and annoying unless, I'm beating the crap out of them. But then they don't sing, if I'm doing that. So basically a rundown of the cymbals, and then I'll talk about the kit, I love big crashes. I love big cymbals so much. I always have. This is a 24 dark crash, traditional. I'm going to do this nice little mallet demonstration. And it goes away. Does it go forever? So that's a 24-inch traditional dark. This is the Ohm series, OM. It's Cindy Blackman kind of came up with this thing. And if you don't know who that is, you need to know who that is. Yes, please. So this is Ohm. This is just a 24-inch ride. Nothing fancy about the name. But Ohm meaning Ohm. And it's a beautiful cymbal. So I would have just bought this just because it looks amazing from the top and the bottom. Yeah. But yeah, so it's an Ohm ride. I got a little rattler on here, but bear with me. I love it because it's so crashable, and it's basically my second crash. So I don't need this, but I want it. So I could do a thing with these three, guys right here and be happy for the rest of my life. So that's the Ohm 24-inch ride. This over here is a new puppy. It's their Exist line, and it's a dry, dark, brilliant crash. It's so pretty and shiny. So brilliant, like typically when you think brilliant, you're like, oh, like what I was talking about earlier. It's like, oh, that's going to sound awful. It's going to be like a whatever. To me, my opinion. But this is super cool because it's not lathe. It's got those crazy hammerings. And it's super short. Very quick decay, but it's kind of bright. So it's a nice accent. It's almost kind of China-like, but. Thank you very much, good sir. Yeah, so that's, nobody's making things like that. It's just so fun to play drums when you have things in front of you that you want to hit, and you're like holding yourself back the whole night until you get to hit it for a whole chorus, which I get to do in that last song I played. So there's that guy. And this is, they have a zillion, I'm telling you, you need to get this particular brand. I actually am telling you that. Because there's so much more that they have to offer. these are the same, what do you call that? Sub-brand. What do you call those? Series. Yeah, that's it. Exist Dry Dark Hats. These are 17s. These are when these came out, I was like, that is what I've been hearing in my head my whole life, or what I've been wishing that I had. And so finally I got some, but I know they're 17s, and sometimes I'm like, oh, big hi-hats, there's the new 14-inch hi-hat, you know. But I love big cymbals, but they still, I mean, listen to this. That's pretty chicky, right? It's not a little 14s or 13s, or I said little 14s. That's normal. That's still typical. But it just gives, there's just more body. There's more presence when you open it. There's more surface to play, so I'm not going to miss them, you know, because I drop sticks and miss things all the time. And that's probably why I have big cymbals too, so I don't miss them. But so great chick sound. And then a nice... I mean, they're just, everything about them, I love them. So you can play, they're just very dynamic to me. And then this guy right here is the original clap stack, and that's the name. And this is so there's just 3 cymbals here. They do have an expansion where you can have a little one and a bigger one, which I use that on the road a lot, just because, again, it's fun, and they're bigger. But so this particular thing was developed by Istanbul with Trevor Lawrence, who is someone else you guys need to look up if you don't know who that is. We all have phones that have Google on them, so I don't have to explain anything. They do it better than I do anyway. So this is a clap stack. The best name for this original thing as well, I think. And it was developed with the idea of, which is perfect, again, for me, when I was talking about emulating drum loops or drum sampled parts, or to get away from the sample pad. It's an 808 clap, except it's an acoustic cymbal. And it sounds so amazing. So you can, that was pretty tight, but you can loosen it a little bit, just to let it breathe. But yeah, so that's, again, the original. Play the original. Yeah, so that's the cymbals. How long was that? Was that about an hour on the cymbals? Okay, I'll breeze through the kit. This is I believe I don't know exact year, but this is a 70s stop sign badge, either 70s or 80s maybe. Gretsch. And funny story on this kit, I was in Nebraska. I was recording with a band I still play with called Remedy Drive. And we were recording an album in Lincoln, Nebraska. And we went into this music store, and I saw this thing. And it was set up with the 2 toms on top. So it's still got the tom holder and everything. It's beautiful. And it was like $1,500. And this was before, you know, I mean, there's like it's like a used car market now. Like everything is so expensive. Like old kits are $5,000 or something. But it was $1,500, and I was like, I don't think I can get it because my wife will be mad at me, and so I didn't do it. And so a year later, we were doing the same thing, recording again, and I was like, let's go to that music store. I just want to check it out again. And so we go in, and it's still sitting there. It's got a big film of dust on it. I was like, all right. So I go up to the guy. He's like, will you take $1,000 for this? He said, no. And so I said, $1,100? And he said, yes. So $1,100, guys. Yeah, so this is 12 13, 16, 22. Yeah, 22 by 14, which is all you need, people. It's all you need. I used to think 22 by 22s were so cool back when I was younger. But I grew out of that, thankfully, with the help of some friends, again. So yeah, there's that. And then this little guy here, this is one of my favorite things. This is a 10 by 14 pearl Sapernino, I think is what they called it. It was like orange, like that liquid amber finish. But I painted it purple so it would match this guy. So there's that. I love it. This snare drum is a fun one. I got this at a place called Nelson Drum Shop in Nashville, and it's an indie percussion or indie something, INDE, and it's a 15 by 5 or 5.5 or something. I don't know, but I was like, oh, that's cool. It's a 15. I want to get that, you know. And I use this is sort of the main guy for I play with Chris when we're doing like bigger type tours, like in arenas and things like that, because it's obviously it's steel and it's big. I don't like super thuddy snares. I don't like. I was dragged kicking and screaming through that whole phase of really deep thuddy snares that were put on everything that didn't need to be put on everything. Now there's a place, but I like a mid to high cracky snare that's still got body to it. So hence the 15. It's got a lot of body, but it's still got a lot of presence, in my opinion. You can get a lot of sounds out of it. I got a snare weight on there. They're cool. I play Innovative Percussion drumsticks. They're based out of Nashville. They're wonderful. I was telling the drum class earlier today that I've been playing this brand, and I didn't even know it, what I was doing, what was in my hand when I was in high school and college in marching band. That's how they started. They were like a mallets, marimba mallets, and then a drum corps, drum line, drumsticks and mallets. And then they made their way into the drum set world. And a lot of people play them. James Gatson plays Innovative. J.R. Robinson, I think, plays Innovative. A whole bunch of people. I can't remember. But anyway, they feel really good, and they're local for me, so I just go there and, with my little discount and buy them straight from the factory. And I even have a couple of friends that work in the factory that are from Memphis. So anyway, that's the gear rundown. I got, usually have acclaimed ears out of Minnesota. Do I? Did someone say something? Yeah, so there you go. I'm going to play another song before we run out of time. Is that cool? I might play, let's see. I'm going to play 2 songs in a row. Because if I talk after every song, we're going to be here till 9 o'clock, and y'all don't want to do that. Y'all probably want to leave now already. Just kidding.
One, two,
Sounds good.
2, 3, 4.
Water turning wine, open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you, none like you. Into the darkness you shine. Out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like are my morning song. Though darkness fills the night, it cannot hide the light. Whom shall I fear? You crush the enemy underneath my feet. You are my sword and shield. Though troubles linger still, whom shall I fear? I know who goes before me. I know who stands behind. The God, angel armies, is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, He is a friend of mine. The God, angel armies, is always by my side. You are faithful, forever faithful. Anybody believe that's true? You know that's true. Yeah. But just feel this place with faith. Come on. One last time. We'll sing it together. I know who goes before me. The one who reigns forever. He reigns forever. The God, angel armies, is always by my side. I know who goes before me. seas always by my side.
Thanks, everybody. Whew. I don't know why I wore the sweater. It's all about looks, I guess. Yeah. So, I'm trying to think of. So those two songs are two of my favorite songs to play, and especially the last one because you're able to kind of stretch out and go a little bit, kind of all the way to the wall, if you will. And the thing that I love about that song, Angel Armies, is, from a song standpoint, from a musical standpoint, is obviously it's very boom, 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 but there's so much space. It's 4 on the floor, but there's so much space, and there's so much, like, room in there, and a lot of the hits that I'm doing, like, towards the end of the song, like, the climactic part, our bass player, Matthew Melton, the best bass player in the world, he does this thing like ding 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 ding, like, so it makes me want to play those with him. So it's like you when you play with people for long enough, like the same people, you know what they like to do, and you want to do that with them. And I think that's really important, especially as a drummer and a musician in general, really, is to really listen to everybody else. Don't listen to what you're doing, because what you're doing is what you're doing. So just try not to get lost in yourself. Like, when you're paying attention to other people on stage, especially your artist, you make sure that you're paying attention to him at all times. But like, just it makes the music so much more enjoyable, and I don't know. It's like you're having a conversation. You're thinking the same things, and you're doing the same things, and you're there's just like this unifying feeling. Anytime you play something that's not on the studio version, like, this is our stamp on it, and we're doing it together. It's not just your own thing. So it's that, and then a couple of things I was doing in the song before, Our God. This is a fun story. When I first played this, to be honest, was filling in. I was filling in the previous drummers. They were about to have their second child, and so I got a call through some friends, mutual friends that I had with our keyboard player, and he called me and he said, "Hey, can you come out?" And this is when I was kind of in between things. He said, "Can you come out and play 2 weeks in Canada with Chris?" I was like, "Yeah," and I didn't even look at my calendar. I was just like, "Yeah." Sometimes you got to do that if you don't have a whole lot of responsibilities. And so I did it, and so I was kind of learning the songs, up until that point. I knew a lot of them. We all kind of know them. Some of them just from church. And so the first time I played Our God, I was like, "Oh, this is fun." And when the chorus comes in, I'll just play it. So it's like this. And then when he starts singing the chorus, it's... And the reason why I did that is because, like, it was a bit of a spasm, because I was thinking of the lyric, "Our God is greater," instead of just, because I knew there was versions that I had heard that had like this emulated kick drum doing that, while the main kick was, the other one was going. It's like, well, I can't do both of them, so I'll just do that. And he turned around, and he was like, and I was like, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna keep doing it because it's gonna sound weird if I stop. And we came off the stage. Mind you, I'm just trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to make sure he's happy and you know, whatever. Which is we're always supposed to. But we were done with the night, and he comes off. He looks at me and he says, "I loved that. Don't ever do anything different." And I was like, okay. So I mean, just sometimes you know, you have opportunities to kind of go out on a limb there. Not that that's a very huge limb to go out on, but it's still like, I love, for me, the drums, a lot of things that I listened to when I was a kid, the drums were doing what the vocal was doing. It was like, emphasizing the rhythms of the vocal, or emphasizing the rhythms of a guitar riff or something. And that just kind of comes out naturally because I loved it so much. So anytime I get a chance to do that where it's not distracting, I think it's a lot of fun to kind of add your own little flair, you know, to it and make it more interesting. But yeah. So any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Right. So I noticed on the first song and the third song, I saw like a sway motion with your left foot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
But this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is like, what is your approach of like learning new techniques? I guess because I see a lot of metal drummers do that, and I'm trying to like get into like learning how to sway my feet to do more metal stuff myself. But what's your technique? Well, like learning if it's like the sway with your feet or like molar technique. Just what's your approach of like learning new techniques?
Typically, like the feet thing, because like obviously this is just my hi-hat foot, but this is the same reason why I do this sometimes. It's just like a movement that's keeping me in time. So like if I'm doing that, like that, it's great. But sometimes my foot starts to, especially if I'm wearing like boots or something where the heel is like a couple of pounds and it's like swinging my foot. So I'm just like, I'm kind of letting it do its thing, right? But but I know what you're talking about with the metal guys, and I wish that I could do that really bad. I think that's, there's a, you can always have aspirations in life, and that's one I'm going to get to at some point. But anyway, but with the kick foot, the kick pedal, I don't do the sway thing as much because I need more control. So it's really just like, most of the music that I play, I don't have to be very timid with the kick drum. I don't have to do heel down and feather the kick, and that stuff is amazing, and it's stuff that I've been working on trying to be better at. But because I don't ever have to use it, I don't, you know. But for me, it's always heel up, and occasionally you scoot it. You've seen guys, like you've seen that old Jeff Porcaro video where he's like wearing cowboy boots and he's scooting his foot up and down the pedal like to get the thing. And so I saw that and I was like, oh, that's cool. That must be how you do it. But up until that point, when I was a kid, every time I heard a groove like, every time I heard that, I thought that was a double kick pedal. I don't know why. So I got a double kick pedal. And I was like, this is hard to do. I can't do the hi-hat right, because then I got to get one of those goofy, Metallica hi-hat clutches to make the hi-hat stay down. And then, so anyway, I was like, I had a friend. This was, probably when I was 12, when I first started playing. And he's like, no, dude, he's using one pedal. And I was like, how? And so that's when I was able to get a hold of, you didn't have YouTube back then, obviously, but I was able to get a hold of some things where I was like, oh, okay. So then it came together. And my right foot is nothing to be amazed by. It's just, I just do whatever I can do to make it easier on myself. And I obviously don't have to do a whole lot of those kinds of things with Chris. But my favorite stuff to play is, a lot of, very mid-tempo, 16th note hi-hat, kick, doing lots of fun little things with the bass player. But yeah, but this thing, that's just goofy. I'm dancing, and I don't know how to dance good. But when I do, it's behind the drums in a way that is, sometimes I need to do that to keep me in time, especially if a song is slow, or if you're playing along with the click track and it's a really slow song. That last song could be considered slow because there's no real subdivisions. And that's also why, if you noticed, I'm doing this with my right hand. Which that's great. That's just as good. It's probably better to do it that way. But my right hand is doing all the subdivisions, and I'm trying to not accent them all. I'm just trying to emphasize that quarter with the kick drum. And so it's keeping me in time. And I don't have my hydraulic seat. I got a hydraulic one, and I never got used to it until recently, and I love it. And so it's just, I feel like I'm on an elevator when I play. So I'm like doing this, and I get really into it if it's a really fun, good night, So that's kind of the reason why I move when I'm playing, is because I find it helps me keep better time, especially if you're playing with people and you don't have a click track, you don't have tracks, you're the guy or gal that needs to keep everything in motion, and that helps me, So, and it looks like I'm having more fun than just, and I can't do it that way anymore. And when I used to play in church when I was 14, 15 years old, that's what I was supposed to do because I didn't want to make too much of a scene. It was a Baptist church. But yeah. So that's kind of the long-winded explanation of that question. Anybody else before I continue? Yes, sir.
I'm full of questions today, but
hey, I love it. You're keeping this thing alive.
Yeah, coming from a gospel background.
Yes.
And going to a CCM new territory.
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding it difficult to come up with nuances when in CCM, like
new what?
Nuances, like different
nuances.
patterns or whatever. With gospel, we can add a little fill or a lick in there and call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
But with CCM, I feel like the freedom is in the builds. But the builds are so repetitive, they get boring after a while. So how do
You're speaking the truth, my friend.
So.
You're speaking the most truthful truth there that has been spoken all day. And there's been a lot of truth spoken in this room today. Man, that's I'm glad you brought that up. Because I will say this. I agree very much that worship music, especially of today, contemporary worship music, whatever you want to call it, is very, very repetitive. It is very, very lackluster. It's very. I'm sharing my deepest feelings with you guys. I am a blunt person sometimes, but that's the Memphis in me, and it can get me in trouble. But the reason why I say that is, it kind of makes me sad because. Obviously, gospel music is, it's a completely different ballgame, and it's a completely different style, and it's completely different everything that comes around it. I was not raised in that. I watched people play it, but never even dared to try to do it. But there's more freedom. There is more freedom, and it should be more freedom if it's music, faith-based music, whatever that you want to call that, contemporary Christian or worship music, praise and worship, whatever they called it, back in the day. It should be the most freeing, right? But I think what happens is and it's specifically with drums, but all the instruments that you hear on a lot of things, it's a pattern, it's a formula, and that's what mainstream music is. That's what pop music is always been, and there's been different trends and different formulas within all the genres of music, but particularly, and I don't want to say it's because of any reason, but people get into a thing where, oh, this worked, this works, let's do this again, and then again, and then again, and again, again, again. And you lose a lot of life. You lose a lot of opportunities for creativity. And I'm not saying creativity is playing a drum fill or playing like something more interesting to make it, just for the sake of being interesting. But that's kind of the reason why with someone like Chris Tomlin, who has been around for so long and been a part of so many different kinds of formulas. I'm not saying some of the newer music that he's come out with is not similar to a lot of other things, but because he's had so many different songs, they kind of there's and we still play a lot of them. It allows for someone like me to not be bored or to not feel like I have to make something, different just for the sake of it. This is a great segue, because there is a song that I was talking to you guys about before. I'll play a couple of songs and we can have some more questions, or y'all can go eat or whatever you want to do. But there's a song called Holy Forever, and you had a perfect timing. It's almost like I told you to do that. And it's that toms and, building with the toms and the 4 on the floor and stay on the toms and don't make it feel groovy or anything. And so that's what I do. I just do it because that's what's in the song. But there's ways to make it more interesting for yourself by really committing to it. And because it's the song's bigger than I am, right? I'm just a music. I play one musical role, and there's so many other roles that are being played. And so the way to make it more interesting for yourself, it's a hard question to answer, but it's just sometimes is sacrifice. Like you sometimes have to sacrifice yourself to the song so that the song feels right, the way that the artist may want it, or the way that the way that if they've made it that way, sometimes it should be played that way, and then there are exceptions. But so for me, I'll play the song and I'll cut it, and then we can do one more song, and then I'll kind of explain what I mean by that. But again, this whole song that I'm about to do is a very formulaic, to be completely exposed here, very formulaic ramp up. The sound thing literally looks like it's doing this till the end, and then it's like this for 8 measures, and then it goes away. So, but that is part of the tension of some worship music, right? Is to build this like feeling and this, this yearning and everything. So there is a reason for it, but not every song has to be that way. Like you said, it's a formula, and honestly, give it a couple years, we're gonna be doing something else. Maybe, I don't know. I guess it's been a while. With the tom thing, the toms will never go away until you take away toms from a drum set, which maybe we should do. That might be interesting. All right, I'll play this and see how bored you get.
1,
I'm kidding.
2,
Holy forever.
3, 4.
So as you, like we were talking about, it's toms. But to be honest with you, that I love playing that song, right? It may seem like, whoa, I mean, the drummer must be bored, right? But it's part of even though it is what I was telling you about before, the formula thing, it's the song, you know. If I was playing anything else there at the beginning, it'd be distracting. Or it would, you know, step on the vocal or, you know, step on the whatever. But the way that it gradually adds various pieces of the kit or, you know, the snare. You know, you don't play the snare till like way into there, right? Which is kind of fun. It's kind of fun to hold back. And then that was one thing I was going to say about playing with someone like Chris is even though he has some songs that stick with the that have a lot of this kind of stuff, very Tom world. He still will find a way to break into like a groove, you know, like finally, you know, towards the end of the song, the chorus goes into a groove, and it's like, I feel like I've jumped off a cliff, and now I can, you know, and that's part of the musical tension. And there's so many, you know, so many different kinds of music that do that, but I mean, EDM does it just a lot faster, right? But it's like I was saying before, you made me think about it. I'm sort of thinking out loud, if you can't tell. But you made me think that by that question, how do I do it to make myself not feel bored, right? And I think I'm not trying to make myself not feel bored by adding more. I'm just like, okay, I feel the movement of this, you know. And I want to if I have to play that tom part, the thing that makes it not bored is sometimes I mess that up. And when you mess that up, everybody can hear it because it's the whole thing I'm doing, you know? Like if I go, like if I fall out of it, it's, whoa, it's done. So that's part of what makes it interesting and not boring for me is holding on tight in those moments where, because it's not a fast song. Fast songs, you're like holding on to like keep up with it. But a song like that is such a slower tempo that you're having to like be graceful and like, you know, be intentional with every single hit. You know what I mean? You're almost having to, I'm not saying I'm counting, but you're almost having to like feel that, you know, in your heart and in your head. It does become a little bit up here sometimes. And that makes it less boring. And also goes back to the natural sticking thing that I was telling you about. If I was doing this, it would sound worse. I have to bounce my body to, but I do this if I don't want to, you know, look distracting. You know, so that's kind of helps me out. There's no wrong way. Like it's more fun. You should be able to do it with one hand, but for me, it's easier if I'm alternating. Yeah. Any other questions about that one?
Timmy. Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very loud. I was wondering if you might be able to elaborate a little bit on, because there's a lot of musicians in here who aspire to work with a CCM artist in the future.
Yeah.
As a drummer playing this music, who are you listening to in the band? Other than, of course, you've talked about
like
lyrics before.
That's in the band?
Yeah, like
plays
when
with
you're
me?
when you were playing through that song, like who instrumentally were you paying attention to kind of help you layer your parts, or even dictate what you played or didn't play?
That's well, everybody, maybe not all at once, but yeah, when I'm singling out guys, I, being a drummer, have had the pleasure of playing with a lot of really great bass players, and one of them is in this room right now. I see you back there. He's the Viking-looking guy named Derek Shipley. And then there's sorry. I'm from here, so these are my buddies that I spent a lot of life with that I haven't seen in many years, and I get to hug them after this. So anyway, I'm gonna talk about those guys. So a lot of where I get ideas or how I try to be more creative on the kit is because I'm trying to do something that the bass player is doing. Like after playing reps of these songs, you know, people go into their own kind of thing, their own little flair or personality. And so I'm like, oh, he did that again. And then I'll lock into that. So by the next time we play this song, I play it with him, and then we have a moment, right? So it's causing me to you know, step out of the box of the boredom thing, you know, to play the same. If I'm playing the same kick pattern the whole time, that's good because that's what the song needs. But it's also a lot of fun if the bass player is filling. I mean, you don't want to step on his toes, but if the bass player is filling, it's fun to fill with him if you can compliment him. But if you want to just lay off, then let him do his thing. But then it's a conversation back and forth. And then, so a lot of times, I don't know if you can tell from, so these are live recordings that so I don't know how much of it you can hear with, you know, just a drummer playing acoustically on stage. But so I at certain points in each song, like I just gravitate towards certain moments with the bass player or the keyboard player. If it's like a very, you know, I want to play, you know, something simple to leave room for him. Or there's even moments in some songs that we played where I used to like think that I was supposed to play little. Every time the keyboard player did a tickle of the ivories, I was supposed to do the same thing with him. And then one night I was like, why am I doing that? I just let him do it. You know, so sometimes it's good, sometimes it's great. But I learned a lot of things playing with those guys back there, best keyboard players in the world, best bass player in the world. So everyone, you guys, I was older than you are now, some of you, when we were all hanging out and playing music together and learning from each other. So it's you take those things and you take them into the next group of people you play with, and that becomes their personalities. The way that they play become a part of your personality and how you play. So you're developing as a player, not because you're getting technically better, but because you're taking these energies or borrowing them, I should say, and that becomes part of who you are. Just like you are who you hang with, I guess. So all that to say, it's really a different person every time in certain moments of a song. Sometimes you try to listen to the entirety of it, and it's hard to do that, or it's just easy for your mind to wander sometimes if you are playing a song that you've played many times. But there's a part in Angel Armies where there's a guitar riff, ding, 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 and I always play it just because I love it. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. It's like rock and roll, and then we build up and goo goo. It's like we're Creed or something. Just kidding. Yeah. So that's kind of how I approach it. Just let your ears wander. So, any other questions? I'll play one more song and then we can close with more questions and whatever you want to do. You good? You good? One more? Is it cool if I do one more? I know I'm keeping you guys. 14 minutes over. All right. Yeah, this is one. The reason why I want to do this one is because it's a lot of fun. It's different. It's not, and Chris says this all the time. It's a song called Home, and it's not really a worship song. It's a song about heaven, right? Which there are many, many hymns that were written about heaven, even though we don't fully know what that's going to look like or feel like or taste like or smell like. It's just a song about, a place. And it's not like a typical kind of thing. This came out several years ago. Obviously, all these songs are mostly before my time. But there's a big loop at the top, again, and I do a similar thing where I play the toms in this little snare as opposed to like playing a sample pad, which is what I started doing. I'll explain this to the people that weren't here earlier. When I first started playing the song, I got the samples like I was supposed to, and I got my sampling pad like I was supposed to, and I put them on there with the help of many people, and I put them on there, and I played it, and you won't hear it. Actually, no, I'm gonna hold on, so you can hear what it actually sounds like. This is what it sounds like. So you get the idea. It's like supposed to be big and like, stompy and clappy and all that, lots of reverb, right? And I'm doing that on a sample pad. Sorry, I'm doing it on a sample pad. And I did that for several shows. But the only way you're going to hear it is if the people back there are doing their job. But not just that. If they do their job, it still doesn't you still don't really feel it unless it's being like pushed with all velocities of sound from a huge arena speaker system. It's just the way it goes. Because you still want it to go somewhere when the real kit comes in. Because if that's bigger than the kit when it comes in, then it's not whatever, right? It's kind of like, So I did that over and over again, and then Chris looked back and like he did before, and except this time he was like, I played it, and he stopped the song during rehearsal, not during the show. And he's like, I just don't feel it. I don't feel it. I was like, okay. So we turned it up. And I got a little how I didn't have one for my whole life until like 2 years ago I got one. It was amazing. Anyway, so I had that, and so we turned that up even. My mic's going out, isn't it? Doesn't matter. So they turned it up in the audience. They turned it up back here. They turned it up on the stage, and he's got fills up front. And we do it again, and he's like, I still don't feel it. It just doesn't. It's not there. And I was like, well, what if I try to emulate what's there, and keep that in there, because that's obviously a signature sound of that song on that album. I want to completely replace it. So I just play along to it. They duck that, and I play along to it on different drums. So yeah, over explanation. I'm going to play it now. Sorry. Thanks, guys. Thank y'all so much. Before we go to our respective homes or restaurants, any more questions? Speak now.
Hey, can you hear me?
Uh-oh.
Because you have to learn so much part for part working with artists like Chris. Do you ever throw in something unexpected, or are the CCM gods like, no? What's that like or you always have to do what you rehearse?
It might be why I don't ever get called for sessions. But yeah, no, well, a lot of the reason why you don't get called for sessions is because it's just a different world now. Even guys that, I'll answer your question. I'm gonna go on a tangent real quick. But people that I know that are session guys, it's just kind of dry because of things that have made making music easier, or the building songs or whatever you want to call it. But that's, yeah, I mean, honestly, like, as far as like doing something that I want to do something crazy here. It happens sometimes. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it does not. Especially if you get used to doing a song a certain way, and you're like, oh, I've done it. You start thinking about this fill or this thing that, oh, that would be really cool there. I should try that. And then you try it, and you really mess up, or it just everybody looks at you. It's something I try not to do much anymore. But as far as just making like CCM or worship music more interesting, it's like I was saying before. It's just it really. I said this earlier today, but everybody plays Billie Jean on the drums completely differently than the other person, and it's the same beat. It's the same, it's the same thing, right? And very few people can play it very similarly. Like, there's so much time in between, beats and the motion of your hands and how you play the snare and where you play the snare and what the snare is and the kick drum and how that feels as it put you. Nobody thinks about that except musicians, right? If other people don't. It's not something that they care about, but it's all because we all have different personalities, and we all have. I'm a firm believer in the reason why I play the way that I play is not just because of all the people that I tried to emulate, or all of my drum idols or musical idols, or those kinds of people that I looked up to. Those helped form my musical sort of identity, but your musical identity is your personality extended, and that's why the way that I play something, these songs, is going to be different than the way someone else plays them. Or if I was, it's the reason why some people fit into a great, or they fit in a band for so long, or for a certain amount of time. It's because that personality that they're giving off is part of the personality of the music too. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's yeah. So it's what was the question? Anyway, you had a question, didn't you?
Yeah, I had one.
You always have a question. I like it.
I do. I know, right? Do you have a tuning process to your drums? Like, do you tune?
A tuning process?
Yes, sir.
I kind of do, and it's not the right one, and I don't think there is a right one. Do you mean like how do I tune to a note or do I tune?
Yeah, like do you tune in intervals? Do you tune like just how it sounds good?
So I actually have a drum tech that on the road with Chris, but he's actually Chris's guitar tech, and so I don't ever really need thing. I'm not like breaking snares, like come save me, and put a snare, so I don't need attention during a show. So he's able to give Chris his guitars and back and forth, but he tunes my drums now, and I thought I knew how to tune drums, and because I just, when you grow up in it, you learn how to do it, and you want it to sound good, and you buy all the heads that are really cool that you're supposed to get, and then you tune them. You try to make. I used to like. Oh, that's a. I never like. Oh, that's a note. I never tuned to a note. I just wanted it to sound like what the drum was supposed to sound like. So that's the way I did it. And then this guy, his name's Tyler Cook. He comes along and he tuned my kit before the first show of the tour that we did last year. And I was like, oh my God, like these are fun to play now. They were fun before, but now like they're like singing. And he got really nerdy. He's not a drummer, right? He's a guitar player and he tunes guitars and he's just like very like, he just hears everything, and he figured out what I did on what song. Like I have some bongos like on our tour now, and he tuned them to the notes of the song that I play them in so that they don't clash. And people do that all the time in recording sessions, sometimes. If it's just a really obnoxious sounding drum, you're like, oh, well, let's just tune it to the song, And so he does that. And he kind of, with these toms, they're probably not that way because he's been sitting in my basement for a while and I didn't touch him today. But he did like a triad. See if it sounds like a triad now. Does that sound like a triad? Sounds pretty cool. Anyway, I just think drums make drum sounds. I don't hear notes, really. But as far, like, to answer your question, when I tune, let's say a snare drum, if I'm, like I said before, I don't want it to be super thuddy unless the song needs to be thuddy. Like before I had a drum tech, I was constantly like cranking the top head and I didn't realize it. I was just doing it out of habit because I wanted it to sound like 311 or something. Only some people will get that joke. Yeah, I was. And so now, all right, let's say there's 8 lugs. You know how they do the doom, 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 like all that kind of stuff?
Yes, sir. The star method?
Yeah, star method or whatever. Like the way that you would put a tire on your car if you're changing your tire. That's kind of what you want to do. If you don't do that, there's a chance your tire, it's going to be on there a little crooked. But so I do that sometimes, but for the most part, I just spot tune. If something sounds off or weird, I crank it up a little bit. Something that is cool, if a little tip I learned, if you want to not have to change your snare drum, if you are playing a song that like needs a fatter snare sound, you don't have like one of those big fat snare drum things or whatever it is, or an actual apparatus to make that sound. What I do is this is a fun little drum key that's like a high tension. You've seen these before, being in drumline. Is I just take these 2 lugs that are closest to me and I loosen them. And that's not really good for your drum, especially if it's a wood drum. But that's okay. It's made of hardwood and metal and stuff like that, as long as you just don't leave it that way. So I'll do that and kind of loosen it all the way and then kind of tighten it just a little bit. Watch it sound awful.
Oh, yeah.
So it's super thuddy and like, yacht rock sounding snare drum. So that's one little trick I like to do. So if you're ever in a bind, but then you got to crank it back up and hope that nothing breaks. So yeah, and then I love higher pitch snares. I like bass drums to be round and not as much attack, like not as clicky. I used to be into that when I listened to Pantera, but now I like it more rounded. And if there's ever two mics in a bass drum, like if you're playing live and you're wanting it to sound more round, you know, they have the one that's inside near the head. That's super attacky. So tell them to turn that sucker all the way down and then turn that one up a little bit. And then it's more rounded and more pleasurable to the ear, if you will, you know, which most music that you hear is that sound. So my kick drums are like super, you know, but still punchy, but warm and round. And then like all the way up to the top of this guy, I like high-pitched snares, and I wish that was like the trend now, but I make it my own thing, my trend, and try to find ways to use that, you know, an excuse to use it anyway. But yeah, so that's kind of the tuning thing. Anyway, anything else? Oh.
Hello.
Hello.
I have more of a musician question than specifically drums.
Please.
So when it comes to like CCM stuff, when it's not always the most exhilarating thing to play.
I love that this is like the trend.
Like how from a leader standpoint or someone trying to put together a band or write music, can they, like, from a drummer's perspective, create that atmosphere that is enjoyable to be a part of?
That's a great question. So you're saying like the folks that are writing songs or you know, lead worshipers or whatever, like they're wanting to make their drummer more excited? Is that what
yeah, like just like kind of create a space or even an atmosphere between musicians and
where
like,
it's more of a collaborative effort,
right? And like just more enjoyable to be a part of.
I mean, just that, you know, you said it. So like, but that you don't always get that opportunity to, especially if you're part of a worship team on a Sunday morning and most people are volunteering. Like what you get there, if you're lucky, at 6:30 a.m. or 7, and you only have like 45 minutes to go over all the songs, and everybody was supposed to do their homework and or whatever. But as far as like from at that point, everyone's, you know, trying to play what the recording was, you know, because you don't have time to be creative. But if you do have the opportunities, like in your church or in a band or whatever, to like include your people, to include if they want to be included, obviously, but to bring everybody in and like create a song, you know, I think that would be a great idea if most, because that's how it used to be. I know I don't look that old, but I've been around for a while, and it used to be where like people in the band got credit for a song because you were, and it's not a bitter thing. It's just literally what it is. Everyone was writing the song and creating the song. So a lot of times you'll see, unless they didn't care, a lot of times you'll see if you can find, you know, these linear notes of albums nowadays, which there's like websites now for that, I guess. But used to be on CDs or albums, you know, you could read that and they'd have written by, and all the band members were on there. So it is the type of thing that if you try to include everybody that wants to be included, sometimes they don't want to, it's fine. Then it does, like, it breeds more creativity, because then you've got way more ideas. Like your ideas as a songwriter are great, and if you were to come up with an entire song, like here's the drum part, here's the bass part, here's the keyboard part, that's cool too. That's how songs are written too. Like there's nothing wrong with that, but there is something special about getting lots of people in a room and creating something together, and then you have more pride in it. Whether it is a part like someone had to create that, you know, that's special. So, yeah, I just think it's, you know, trends come and go, and people do things the way they want because it's easier, or like, you know, I'll just do this myself, and then, you know, but I think that would liven up, worship music as a genre, if that was the case. If it was more than just writers and producers in a room creating a song and coming up with the thing that people learn, and then you bring, if you want to, you bring in real players to play it, to lively it up that way. That's all well and good, but I think you're onto something if you restart that trend, which some people still do. They gather around everybody like, hey, let's create a song, and I think that does still exist, but people want to be included. People want to create, unless they just don't. Unless they're fine with like, yeah, I'll do whatever, I'll play whatever. And those kind of people have the best attitudes in the world, And that's something that I've struggled with, my whole life is, okay, I'll play the album, or okay, I'll play the album. Like, it's a up and down thing. And now, for me, I actually really love, because I don't have a whole lot of time to like create anymore. But I do love to take a recording that someone else has written, a drum part, or someone else has produced. I like to take it and either play it exactly verbatim what it is, or like to take the challenge of doing that, or add a little bit of sauce to it and in my own way. And it's kind of fun. It's fun to pick those moments, to pick those challenges, or so yeah. That's kind of my long answer for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, man.
Hi, my name's Aaron. Thanks for being here, by the way. It's nice to meet you.
Of course.
I wanted to ask about, so I know that in trying to quote unquote make it or whatever, or like looking for opportunities to play with people and get in those bigger venues and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I know a lot of it is about just who you know, and you've got a friend who knows the guitar player or whatever, and they need somebody to fill in, and that turns into like a long-term gig, whatever. But those all start with like who you know.
Right.
And I would love to say that I'm like best friends with like Haley Williams or like Thomas Rhett or somebody, but unfortunately I'm not. So
yeah, me neither.
Right. So it's like
I wish I was best friends with Haley Williams too.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry.
But I guess what I'm asking is like, how do you recommend like trying to navigate that of like trying to put your name in people's ears, but also trying not to be pushy or like stepping into people's space or whatever?
That's the hardest. I think that's the biggest struggle for any musician, for anybody that's doing something that's creative, that's an art. It's the hardest thing to. I'm amazed at artists like lead singers or whatever that are just so good at promoting themselves, and not because they're full of themselves, but because they're good at promoting what they can do. I've always been just enamored by that. So for me, I will say that yes, it is in who you know. It's all in who you know to some degree, but it's more about you doing the work on your own. Now, when I say work, I'm not saying go and post as many things as you can and show the world that you can do this or that. Those are all great things. And part of the reason why I'm here is because someone saw a video of me years ago, and so those are good things, and you should do those things, but you don't have to do those things. Is what I'm saying. the people that you come across, that's why I stressed earlier, like the importance of relationships and building friendships within the music world, not just for your own benefit, of course, but because it's great to have good friends, right, that love music. And you can, if you want to play together, you can play together. But it usually starts, for me, it's whenever I wasn't being a jerk, it started with just really digging into the people that I was playing with, kind of stepping out on a really, like I said before, I'm pretty introverted. If you don't know who I am, I'm introverted at first. I'm sizing you up. But then when I get to know you, I open up and I can be myself around you. And that's most introverts. It's a lot of people, I guess. But that's kind of how I am. And when I start to trust you, I'm gonna give everything that I have to you. And sometimes you get hurt doing that. That's part of the risk. And that happens in music a lot. Like you feel like you're investing maybe in an artist, or you're investing in another player or whatever, and things don't work out or things don't pan out, and sometimes there's no hard feelings, but sometimes that happens. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that you keep the best thing to do is to keep trying to be a better you, whoever that is. Don't try to be a better somebody else. Comparison is like the killer, right? And we live in a comparison society now. Like everybody's comparing everybody else to, oh, they're better than I am at this, and they look better than I do, or they have a nicer car, or I wish I could live in a house like that, or I wish I could play, whatever. I wish that I could groove better. I wish I could whatever. And the more that we do that, the more that we dig into those parts of ourselves, that it distracts us from really experiencing the life around us. The more we, like I was saying before, how I sometimes struggle with being down on myself because I messed up on something that night, or I had a horrible night, which happens, and then I feel like I just shouldn't do this. It's important to remember that those things happen all the time, but along with that, so does the good things. So it's a cycle. This too shall pass. This too shall pass, and then. But I would just encourage you to just keep doing what you're doing to progress your playing, from a playing standpoint, and learn all you can. But be sure to just, even if it's a small group, a small knit group of people, just really invest in people. And I think that that's very enriching. It has been for me, because like I said before, you can play with dozens of artists, and it's not always guaranteed that you're going to be playing in bigger venues or smaller venues. And from my experience, when you get there, it's cool, it's awesome, it's great. But when you get there, you realize that you didn't set out to play music so that you could get there. You set out to play music because you love music, or you love the people around you that you're playing music with. And then you're experiencing those things together, as opposed to I made it, I'm playing Madison Square Garden, which I've never played before, or Red Rocks, which is a small venue, but it's an iconic place. It's beautiful, and I recommend trying to play there sometime. But the bucket list thing, you always hear that, right? Everybody wants to play arenas, everybody wants to play stadiums, everybody wants to. But honestly, the best, most fulfilling nights in my musical life that I've ever had are in small clubs, or small theaters, or So it's not really the size of the venue per se, or like that aspiration to like make it big with a big artist, because I've struggled with that too. Like, but I play with Chris Tomlin. He's huge. He's like the godfather of worship music, right? So you can very easily forget where you're at or what you've accomplished, or because you're constantly thinking of the next thing. Sometimes it's good because it pushes you forward, but it can really it can suffocate what you're experiencing in the present. So, but it's a great question. It's hard. I'm just going to say it's hard because you're not guaranteed. You're not guaranteed success. You're not guaranteed getting to play with an established artist or an unestablished artist. Like, it's never a guarantee. It's just about trusting that the Lord will guide your steps to where he wants you to be. And usually where he wants you to be is where you want to be, and you didn't realize it, right? So, like, I'm a perfect example of that. I've always wanted to play in the NBA. But it's not, that was when I was a little kid. But that was a dream that I was really serious about as a little kid. I was really serious about it, to the point where I cried when people at school told me that was never going to happen, right? But it's okay, because now I realize that I did not have any potential for that. I'm sorry, I'm going off on weird tangents in my head, but that's not my point. My point is that we think that we're supposed to do something. And sometimes that's true, and we go for it, and you're supposed to go for it, right? And then sometimes we think we're supposed to do something, but it's actually not it. But on the journey towards that thing that we really want, we kind of like take a left turn and like, oh, but this is great, or this is like where I'm supposed to be, So it's all that to say, it's a challenging question to answer, which is why I'm rambling on and on. Just be you, be yourself, love others, love yourself, and love others, and usually things fall into place. I don't know. It's kind of the big answer.
Thank you.
From all of my experience in life. Anybody else got anything? Well, I just want to say that I went a long time. Thank you guys for hanging with me and for giving me this opportunity to do this. Mitch, thank you for calling me up to do it. Ginger, thank you for giving him my number and making sure that he finally tracked me down. I was on some excursion in the wilderness somewhere. I didn't answer my phone for like 2 months. Anyway, I just want to thank you guys so much for having me, and thank all of you for coming. I know some of you didn't know who the heck I was. This is awesome. I kind of like to be, I used to think I wanted to be famous. And I was in a group for a while where people, after the show was like, oh yeah, and I was kind of like, yeah. And I realized I didn't want to be, and I love being a sideman. I love playing. I love supporting an artist. So that might be encouraging to some of you, but thank you for coming and supporting this school and supporting myself and my ego. I'm just kidding. But I never feel like I have a lot to teach just because of the background I come from, but this was a lot of fun, and I definitely want to do it again because of tonight. So thank y'all for coming and spending your
Can we all give
evening.
Timmy a round of applause? Thank you, Timmy, so much for coming out and just shedding all of your wisdom on us. Thank you, everyone in the back who helped with sound, who helped with production, who helped with lighting.
Give them a round of applause.
Who helped host this event for our stream audience who attended. for everyone who, again, participated in Drumathon. Ultimately, we give the glory to God, as well as just, thank you for helping us to be able to support and continue to spur on musicians. So that is the Timmy Jones Clinic, y'all. Have a great night, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye. Bye.
Drumathon drummers to the stage for a quick photo. Then you guys can go.
Why did I wear this shirt? It's so hot up here.